Cypher Sigma is the weekend, and as always, the weekend it is movie review time. So I have the new George Miller Mad Max World movie number 5. So this is Furiosa and Mad Max Saga. This is the longest running Mad Max movie in the franchise. It is 2 hours and 28 minutes. Obviously directed by the genius behind it, George Miller, and is the 5th installment in this franchise. It actually sits between the original trilogy and Fury Road. This is a kind of prequel movie as we learn the story of Furiosa and how she became. So anybody who doesn't know, hasn't seen this, or is going in blind, just a little summary. So we have the story of Furiosa as a young girl being kidnapped by the evil Dementus, played by Chris Hemsworth. Due to a set of circumstances as grown up, she is then taken in by Immortan Joe, played by Lucy Hummel. Apologies, the role of Immortan Joe was played by actor from Toe Cutter Joe from the original ones. Unfortunately, they have passed between Fury Road and this movie, so they were replaced by someone else who has done a really good job in my eyes. She's then taken on by him to be a wife. She manages to escape and then becomes kind of a warrior in Immortan Joe's clan, which leads her to trying to escape, and obviously, unfortunately, then becomes kind of a badass warrior at the end of it, that then leads you on to Fury Road. There it is. If you haven't seen this film, there is. So the movie is a prequel. By the time the movie gets to the credits, or the beginning of the credits, do show a few snippets from Fury Road, so you can kind of go into that movie. It doesn't give it away. It's kind of like a trailer, and that's how the plan. There is a tiny second or two little bit at the end of the movie. It doesn't impact in any way. It is just a kind of bobblehead toy that is on the dashboard of Furiosa's car. There we go. I stayed. It was a late showing. It was like almost 11:30, and the people wanted to clean, and I'm the only person there. So anyway, that is the movie. So we shall stick up the spoiler warnings, and we shall get into the story. So as I said, the story starts, you have the young Furiosa. She is with her sister. She lives in kind of this little utopian town, city. And as she is trying to pick some fruit for her and what we assume is her sister, a load of bikers are there, basically cutting up a horse, but you don't see. Furiosa tries to tamper their bikes. And unfortunately gets caught. As she gets caught, she manages to signal her tribe and her mum, and a few others start chasing her. They all get killed finally as her mum, or what we assume is her mum, chases her all the way back to the encampment for Dementus, because the bikers were part of Dementus's gang, obviously played by Chris Hemsworth. Because they know, like, obviously, they're from this land. Obviously, everyone gets killed up until the point of entering the Dementus camp, and then Furiosa manages to kill the last guy. So no one knows where it is, but Dementus takes her on, and her mum comes in the evening to kill her, and unfortunately gets killed herself. We then have the next part of the story is Dementus kind of searching around, kind of hobbling around for a better standard of living. And this is where he comes across the clans for the Immortan Joe. Obviously, he comes with the bald white guys with the spray paint on. He comes across one of them, and that leads him to this place. Chris Hemsworth obviously wants it, but Immortan Joe says no. And obviously, there's kind of a big fight, and they kind of run away to fight back. This is where there's kind of this conflict between Immortan Joe and Dementus. And basically, to even it out, Dementus is given gas, or basically kidnaps Gastown. So there are a few worlds that are in this place. You have kind of Immortan Joe's habitat. You have Gastown, where it's where the fuel comes from, and then you have kind of Bullet Town, where the bullets are made from. These are kind of the 3 worlds. The story is split up into 5 little sections anyway. But yeah, in between Dementus taking on fuel Gastown, he wants basically better stuff for his men. He's very, very selfish character, kind of, but bumbling selfish character, I think, in my eyes. And he trades Furiosa. Furiosa then manages to escape the kind of wives safe area due to a set of events, and then basically she disguises herself as a young lad and works her way up to basically being part of the convoy that takes the fuel and stuff in between it. She then meets Tom Burrett's character is patron on Jack, or I just call him Jack to make it easier. He's kind of a Mad Max-ish kind of style who works for Immorto Joe. And these two kind of do the runs, and he kind of trains her up, realizing who she is. And then as the movie progresses on to the final kind of arc, you realise that Dementus is just an idiot. He's run Gastown ragged. He then goes and kidnaps Bullet Town, and then he basically wants to take on the main Immorto Joe's. He wants everything. There's a massive fight. Loads of people die, and then basically you have Furiosa at the end of it, managing to, or she tries to escape just before this battle fight. She is injured. Obviously, that's where she gets the arm and stuff. Jack is killed, and then she kind of goes on the revenge to hunt down Dementus, and from what we can tell, kills him, and then becomes the kind of badass she is, and that is essentially where the film is. So I did enjoy this movie. I am not going to rate this movie because I'm finding it really hard to find a place to categorize it. Now, just a backlog. For one, I wasn't a really big fan of Fury Road. I do like George Miller. I do like the original trilogy. I do think the original trilogy and that representation of Mad Max is my Mad Max. Fury Road to me with Tom Hardy's version of Max, I did not like. I don't see that as Mad Max. I see this whole thing as a different saga. Fury Road this, and if there's anything else, to be something completely different. That's just where my mind is. I watch Fury Road. I like, it very much feels like a Mad Max movie, and I will give it its credits and its dues all day long for that. But I think the character of Max that we knew from the original 3, as Tom Hardy was then supposed to be him, it just didn't sit right. It might as well have been a different character or a different name. I think when you kind of remake or carry on franchises, why have the same character is a thing. But anyway, but obviously there are good action scenes. It works. There is a 15-minute scene that took like 76 days for them to film. Thought it worked really well. Chris Hemsworth, I'm very much a meh. Like, I didn't like his character. I didn't hate his character. I didn't think there was... His voice, I think he kind of had his accent and it kind of wasn't quite perfect in the first bit. And then it just seemed like a bumbling idiot, and to kind of run a gang that kind of part of them sectioned off and that, there was just these other bits that just didn't make sense to me. So I very much had it with them. I found outside of the 4 role, I struggled with him. I didn't say he phoned it in. I thought he was all right. Anna Taylor-Joy. I did like her in the role, but again, I don't. It kind of, the story was very much, you didn't get to see much from where she's from. She's kidnapped. She's just trying to always get home. There are a few bits like how her arm gets damaged. I thought good, but then magically she builds this bionic arm, and stuff like that didn't kind of ring sense to me. In the way it was portrayed, and I'm not, she is a good actress. I liked her in Queen's Gambit and stuff like this. I don't know if this was necessarily worked well enough for me. I did like the character of Jack. He kind of reminded me a little bit of a Mad Max-ish character. But then they kind of had this almost father-daughter relationship or something, and it was every time the Furiosa character meets somebody and they put their heads together as a thing like that, or that the person who's there with her always gets killed and is kind of like an demon. Throwing in all these other elements and stuff like this just seemed very chaotic. I said it was enjoyable to watch, and said it's 2.5 hours. I wasn't tired or anything. But yeah, it was, as I say, it was nice, enjoyable, but it's not necessarily something I would be running back to, especially because the fact I didn't really like Fury Road. And maybe I need to rewatch Fury Road. I haven't really watched it since seeing it in the cinema anyway. But there, they do have like a little clip of essentially Max, because this is a prequel. There, and I don't know, I just, it felt for me like there was something missing, or there were bits that just didn't kind of link in together well enough. I mean, I say it very much feels like the world of Mad Max, and this is a new character, and obviously we're seeing what Furiosa is in there, so they had to get around. Say the progression of how they move stuff along, I did like, but I felt, even though for a 2.5 hour movie there were certain bits that were missing, and maybe throwing in all these elements in these different places for newer audiences was a bit of I don't know. It's, as I say, this is, my mind is, I'm very much all over the shop. You know, I would, you know, I'm not saying it's a bad film. I did enjoy it. It's really good, and I will buy this and add this to the collection easy enough. But I'm not saying it's amazing. I'm more than say, like, you know, it ticks a lot of the boxes. It gets a lot right. There is some good action scenes and good stuff here, but overall, I'm like indifferent to it, if that makes sense. I know this is a bit of a weird movie review. I do apologise that I'm not putting anything down, but that has been my review of Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Have you seen this movie? Let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I've been Cypher Sigma Screen Time, and I shall see you in the next one.